Hey, JW, more from Chicago, Wisconsin. Awesome. I won't be looking too much at the chat because I want to get this information out, and I will stay afterwards for as long as you want me here because I don't have anything on the schedule until July, like most of us, and I'm really excited to start these webinar series. We're going to be doing them every 2 weeks, and so all of you that are on the chat and all of you that have signed up, then you're going to get these emails. You're going to continue to get these emails. If something goes wrong and I keep going, some of you already have my cell phone number, so you just shoot me a text. And couldn't join, locked out at 100 participants. Well, that sucks. But we're gonna keep going, and I'm gonna send this video out to everybody, and I'll fix that afterwards. So, welcome to team building. From team building to person building. You know that a lot of us are not able to actually meet with our athletes and our teams and our coaching staffs, but that should not stop us. I want to share with you something that I've been doing with some of the teams that I'm working with and some of the coaches that I'm helping through this rough time. So a little bit about me. Let me see if I can get this going. Boom. This is a little bit about my life. This is what I do at Unleash the Athlete. I do a lot of seminars and workshops and online courses. I'm also in the trenches with everybody. So let me see. I'm going to go live on Instagram because some people cannot log in. All right, here we go. Okay, so we are also live on Instagram, and this is the team building from team building to person building. So I've a little bit of my story is I was a coach, and I didn't want to. I felt like there was more that I could give, and my experience in college. Long story short, I went to college to play football, and I got hurt. And I was picked up by the cheer team, and I had this phenomenal experience as a mascot, just hanging out in the huddles during live games. So it was basketball, it was football, it was all this. It was a great experience because all the coaches trusted me, and I got this insider knowledge of how to talk to athletes. Well, then I started coaching, and I took an entire year off of coaching in my early 20s. The reason I think that's important is because that's kind of where we're all at right now. We're taking a break in coaching because of this COVID-19 thing. And what I did is when I was supposed to be at practice, instead of being at practice, I was at the library, and I was reading, and I was watching videos, and I was renting VHSs and just having a ball, getting better as a coach. When I came back to the sport, I found out that there was a lot of things that I learned that the average coach just wasn't aware of. And a coach invited me to a session to one of his practices to audit his practice. He had some guys that were leaving and reached the maximum. So unfortunately, it stopped at 100. I paid for the upgrade, but it's not working. So all of you that are on it, you're good to go. The rest of you, I'm going to have to email, which is unfortunately, but I'll fix it. So anyways, I went to this guy's practice, and he was he was losing these players, and it turned, long story short, he was really speaking condescending to them. He was kind of a smart aleck to them, sarcastic all the time. And when I brought that to his attention, he was a little offended. And then a few weeks later, he called me back, and he was like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I need to change." And so we worked on different ways on how to communicate. And so moving from there, went back to school, got my master's in performance psychology, and then had this great stint at IMG Academy. I got a text message from Jenna right now. She was one of my interns there. It was awesome. I had so much fun as the head of leadership there. Dad got sick, moved to Dallas, where I am now. Ended up working with the Cowboys and with an esports organization, and just recently with the Bulls, which our season came to an abrupt end, unfortunately. But that leads us to here. And I want to share with you a story that kind of I think really just highlights the importance of what I'm going to teach you today. When I was in high school, as my senior year, it was my spring semester, so I'm about to leave school, and one of my buddies dares me to try out for the volleyball team. And so I thought, yeah, I can do that. I had no chance of making it because these guys had been together for a long time, and they they kind of made fun of me when I got out there, and I tried really hard. The first week, I remember I was like, oh, trying to get them, and they were aiming at my face. I had Wilson tattoos all over the place, but the list of people trying out went from 40 to 30 in that first week, and I was still on the list. Second week, I'm starting to dig them, right? So I'm starting to like actually return some of them. And one time I jumped into the stands and I bruised my leg, but I got a piece of it. And I was really excited. So second week goes by and there's 20 people on the list. A few days go by and there's 15. That's the roster, and I'm number 15. And so I take this note, this roster, and I bring it into Bob McCarthy's office. He was the volleyball coach. Shout out to anybody who knows Bob McCarthy, Fresno, California. Great dude. And to this day, he's had a long-lasting effect on me, just like many of you on your athletes. And went in and I said, hey, there's a problem with this roster. And he was on his computer and he was like, nope. And I was like, but I'm on it. And he's like, yep. I said, but I'm not very good. And he said, no, you're not. And so I was like, well, I don't understand. He kind of turns to me and he says, Jimmy is what they call me. Jimmy, let me see your leg. Lift up your short. And I lifted up my short leg and there's that big old bruise. And he goes, what happened? And I said, well, I dove into the stands to get the ball. And he goes, did you get it? And I said, well, I touched it. And he said, you did. Did you see what happened afterwards? And I was like, no. He goes, other guys started diving into the stands. Like you showed them what was possible. I thought, oh, that's interesting. But when they did it, they returned the ball, right? And he goes, what happens at the end of practice? And I said, well, we run sprints. And he goes, yeah. Well, what happens? And I go, well, I win every time. Like I'm always like the first to cross the line. And he goes, yeah. He goes, you see the faces of your teammates when you do that. And I was kind of smart, Alex. I'm like, no, coach, like they're behind me, I'm like this. And he goes, it upsets them that you beat them and they work harder. And he said, Jimmy, you're not going to play very much because you're not very good. And I'm like, all right, coach, like we established that. And he says, but I need you on the team because you're a leader and you make the guys work harder. And your role is going to be a culture guy. You're not going to play very much. And if you're okay with that, then we'll bring you to Vegas. You'll get a varsity letter. I said, okay, all right. Yeah, like I can do that. And so a couple months go by and we're going through the season and he was right. I did not play very much, but I got a little bit better and I knew my role. And the reason I'm telling you the story is because of what happened at the end of the season. We went to Vegas. We did okay, and on our way home, we had this 3-hour drive and I sat in the front seat with Coach McCarthy. And the entire time I was in the front seat, he gave me a lecture on how to show up to an interview, how to present yourself around people that you want to impress. And even to this day, when I'm in an interview situation, I think about him. I don't think about him because he started me or didn't start me or, like I didn't get enough playing time. Like all I think about when it comes to McCarthy is that moment that he taught me about how to be in an interview. And so that transitions us into where you're at today. You can't be with your athletes. Most of us are not allowed to kind of go out and be amongst our teams. And so I want to show you a way to recreate that situation that me and Coach McCarthy had. We were in the car together in the van, but there were other people there and people were kind of chiming in and it was a lot of fun. And so when it comes to you being with your athletes, they need you right now. And if you're supposed to be in season right now, your season's not done. Your athletes need you. And here's how you're going to do that. Now, let me just give you an idea of what we're going to be going through. The reason this webinar even happened is because I posted my phone number on social media as about a week ago. And I got a bunch of calls from athletes who were really sad that their season was over. But what they kept saying was that they were sad that their coach wasn't going to be around anymore. They were going to miss their teammates. Not one athlete was really upset about I'm not going to play. They were all talking about, I'm not going to be with my friends. Like I miss my coach. You have a voice in your coach title that is more influential than most things that these kids are going to go through. And so they need you. And that was very evident when it came to those phone calls. And then some of the coaches called too, and they really missed their athletes. So what we're going to talk about today is creating a virtual practice session. And when it comes to the practice session, there's a couple of specific things we're going to go over. How to create community, what tools to create so that your teams can be around, how to organize the session, and then the last one is what to teach. All right, so let's get started. I'm really bummed only 100 people in here because over 400 people signed up and I even paid for the upgrade. Dang it. All right, moving on. So number one, create community. Now, what you need to do is commit to supporting and to teaching your athletes. They need your encouragement. They need your words of wisdom. They're not many adults, they're children. And so you want to take your adult experience and help them to navigate through these tough times. Let me, there we go. One of the best ways to do this is through an app called GroupMe. And that's the icon right there. All of the things I'm going to suggest, all the links that I'm going to give you, I'm going to email to you. And so you'll have all of those. And so you don't have to worry too much about like downloading them right now. They're going to be available to you in a document that I send out after this. I'm also going to send the replay if you want to share this with coaches. So GroupMe is a really fun application to use. Now, you can use WhatsApp, but a lot of the kids already use WhatsApp, and so it might get a little bit messed up. My chat's blowing up. Let me just see what's going on here. Here we go. Oops. Oh well. All right. So yeah, when it comes to using an app that they're already using, then it could get a little bit crazy. And so GroupMe is the best way to just make sure that you're communicating with them. And we're going to talk about the different behaviors and the expectations in those groups. But the next thing you want to do is choose a video platform. What I'm using right here is Zoom. And I pay for it. I paid for an upgrade so I could have up to 10,000 people in a webinar. Apparently, I did something wrong because I can only get 100. But if you're having 100 people in your session, that's too big. This is a webinar format, and when you have a whole bunch of videos up and people are trying to get your attention, it's too much. And so you want to keep it around 12. Now, I have found that this is the best platform. Skype hasn't been very consistent for me. And so Zoom is a great place for you to just meet. And again, I'm going to send all these links out. The next thing is you want to create a practice session. You want to create this schedule that the kids know, when are we going to do it? And you want to be consistent. And so if you're gonna do it for 2 times a week, 3 times probably might get a little bit much, especially if you're going to be assigning like homework and stuff. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But 30 to 60 minutes is kind of the sweet spot. When I'm working with an adult one-on-one, we can go up to an hour and a half, 2 hours. But typically when you're dealing with younger people, 30 minutes to 60 minutes is going to be your sweet spot on there, because they're going to be checking their phones, they're going to be checking their TikTok and their Fortnite status, and like I said, you want to try to stay the same. And so like let's say practice starts at 3 o'clock. on Monday through Thursday, typically. Maybe you do a Tuesday, Thursday, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Like that's it. And then, just be consistent. Make sure that you're on time and start on time. And we're going to go a little bit with some other sessions. All right. So the first session, chaos. It's going to be mayhem. It's going to be nuts because it's the first day of practice. And you got to understand that these kids they're excited to see you. They're excited to be a part of this. And this is great. And, athletes, I remember being an athlete and my favorite part of the day was hanging out with my coach and hanging out with my teammates. So this is an opportunity for you to get back in front of all those teammates. First thing you're going to do is share the why. Why are you doing this? And it's not another it's not just something that, put it on your list and this is another part of school. Like, no. You're there to support them. You're there to be there for them. And you're going to, just help them understand that you're there because you care. You're there because the season's not over. Just because we're not going to be playing other teams or you're not going to be going up against other opponents, it doesn't mean you're not part of a team. And you're loved. And so these kids need to hear that kind of stuff. This is unprecedented. This has never happened before in my lifetime. And so this is very, very important for you to just be able to say, hey, this is an opportunity for us to connect. You're going to then discuss the practice schedule and ask for the commitment. Don't go overboard. Oh, we're meeting every day for an hour and this. No, they got stuff to do. Like you're important, but you don't want to go overboard because then it's not special anymore. And so ask them, are you good with 2 days a week? Do we need to go 3 days a week? Or are you good with 1 day a week for 2 hours? Get them in on the conversation and kind of see where they're at. If you got younger kids, you're looking like 10, 11, 12, you're probably not going to get more than 15, 20 minutes out of them. And that's okay. If you have high school kids, especially seniors that are moving on, be available to them because they're the ones that are probably struggling the most because their final season, a lot of them aren't moving on. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. This is devastating for them. I have nightmares about showing up at a football game that I was supposed to play in and I didn't bring my pads. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but it's terrifying. Go over group chat behavior. Now, I'm involved in a couple group chats on GroupMe and in WhatsApp with different organizations. And there's never been anybody who just went in and said, look, this is how we do it. Because notifications can get crazy. So there's a couple things that I want to just say about this. If you're communicating with everybody, keep it to team dynamics. Keep it to things that are specific to the team. Not that, we're just going to be, putting a bunch of memes in there, and just, sharing stuff that's not appropriate. These kids already have connection to their teammates they're sharing stuff that you probably don't want to see or probably shouldn't see. But this is an opportunity for you to just be in. Like when I was working with the Windy City Bulls, I was in a group with the team. But then there was another one where the team was able to kind of share stuff and be real with the stuff, and none of the coaches were in there. And kids need that, just like adults need that communication with each other, and the boss isn't there. So that stuff never ends. But then also, let me go back one. Also, when it comes to the group behavior, ask them to, if they're asking a specific question to somebody, to use the @ symbol and then their name. Now, that's a big one because then not everybody has to, get the notification. And in the GroupMe, it's really cool. If you like something, you don't have to say you like it. You can just heart it. And I really like that about that. In this first session, you're going to introduce a basic outline of the talks. And we're going to go over the outline next. But you're just going to say, look, this is it. And this is the first day of practice. Think of it like that. It's the first day. Like when I probably won't do this much anymore, but the first day of practice, I always taught the handshake. It looks like that might be changing. But we have, you have the handshake and this is where we line up and this is where we start and this is where we end. And that was the first day of practice. And this is the same thing. This is the same thing that we're going to be doing. All right. So, you're going to also give them post-practice assignments. And towards the end, we're going to talk about, maybe something that they read, something that they watch, something that they create, or something that they do. And then lastly, before I dive into things that you could be talking about, ask them, what do you want to learn? When I was in the van with Coach McCarthy and the rest of the team, I don't remember if I said it or if he said it, but we just started talking about that job interview stuff, and it sticks to me to this day. I mean, that was 25 years ago. All right. Your typical session is going to be 45 to 60 minutes. Now, again, if they're younger, then it's probably going to be shorter. If they're older, if you're dealing with college athletes or even pro athletes, maybe they might want longer, and that's okay. You don't have much to do. Unless you're homeschooling your kids, then you're probably not on this webinar anyways, because it's so funny to watch on Instagram, all these parents that are having to for the first time be parent and teacher, and it's an interesting adjustment. All right, the first 10 minutes, community. The first 10 minutes are all about community. Let them talk to each other, and how you doing? How's your aunt? Someone got a new dog. Someone's an influencer on TikTok now. Whatever it is, like let them chat. Anson Dorrance was this great soccer coach, and he would always give them a one lap. Like, you got one lap to just run around and just talk and socialize, and when you get back, boom, practice starts. And I always like that. And so it's going to be the same thing in this. If you just turn on the Zoom and you're like, all right, today, this is what we're going to be teaching. No, you gotta warm them up, and then mute them all, and then you go right into speaking life into your teammates. And so these athletes, like whatever lesson that you're planning, give them a story and some kind of anecdote to kind of get them in that idea of, we're going to be talking about integrity, we're going to be talking about communication, we're going to talk about family, we're going to talk about whatever the topic is. But that, about 20 minutes or so is going to be about what you have. And then open it up to discussion. And I really encourage you to keep your mouth shut and let it be awkward for a little bit. Those few moments where the kids are you ask a question and it's just, resist the moment to have to go in and fill with voice. You don't have to fill it with voice. At the end, 45 to 60 minutes or so, wrap it up and let someone share. Maybe before each session, you assign somebody, you have a list of you have your roster. And you're like, all right, Sarah, you're going to share at the end next time, whatever you want to share, whatever's going on in your world. The team, you have the team's attention. But then also, when it comes to activities and it comes to topics, ask your teammates, what is it that you want to learn? So let them have a little bit of say of these sessions, because this is life. You're speaking life into them. All right, what to teach? Again, ask them. The collective genius of your team, you probably have endless amounts of ideas, and all the ideas that I've put into some resources for you that I'm going to share with you afterwards, I got from my experience, but then also talking with all of the athletes that called me over the last week when I posted my number up on social media. Number two, you want to maybe check with the team values or the team, the organizational values, things that the team or the organization has already put out there. Maybe just reiterate those. Also, think about what you wish you knew when you were younger. I had no idea that I needed to know about being, how to be in an interview when Coach McCarthy walked me through that. I had no idea. Oh, by the way, I forgot this part. Big part of that story is that when I was, invited to be on the team, I was also nominated as a captain. And I should have said this during the story earlier. But when I was nominated as a captain, that showed me that you didn't have to be the best performer to be a leader, but that you could encourage, you could inspire, you could help other people just by listening and being a good person. All right, number 4, I have some curriculum on utathlete.com, the Resilient Athlete. For being on the webinar, you get half off of that. And so there's 20 lessons of mental resiliency, which I've worked really hard on. And it's not a course, it's curriculum. So you can take the PowerPoints and literally just boom, put them in there. Number 5 is a book club. Like have a book club with these athletes. Let them read some stuff and come back and have them teach the lesson. One of my favorites is I'm going to show them up right here. But one of my favorites is John Maxwell. I think it's 21 Indescribable Laws of Leaders or something. I forget what it is. I'm a little nervous right now. But all right. So here's what the post-practice assignment looks like. Watch a TED Talk. Ladies, gentlemen, here's the TED Talk that we're going to watch before we meet again. Then I want you to watch this and we're going to discuss it. That can be an entire session on its own. I mean, you can watch John Wooden's, he rambles for about 20 minutes and it's gold. There's so much, and there's no outline to what he's talking about, but he just goes and it's just beautiful. If you get my coach notes every week, then you already got a resource that I'll share later, but it's my top 10 TED Talks to watch as a coach or to watch with your athletes. But this is the book. It's the, so that's the book that I was talking about earlier. It's very good with breaking down different attributes that a great leader has. But another post-practice assignment could be create something. In the mental resiliency curriculum, there's opportunities for the athletes to maybe create their word for the year, or to erase or replace bad self-talk. And so you give them this assignment to work on. Maybe it's, I want to hear your goals for the next year, but first you teach them that there are outcome goals and that there are process goals, and then there are performance goals. And if you don't know about those stuff, you can Google that stuff, or I have some things on my site as well. But then at the end, it's due, because these kids, some of them, they still want to train. Most of them probably still want to train. And so at the end of the session, hey, this is what I need you to do. I know you can't go to the gym. I was so bummed yesterday. My yoga studio, they're closed. My gym is closed, and the gym here at my community, it's closed. And so the only thing I can do is run and do some push-ups and sit-ups and squats over here on the floor, and some online yoga stuff. And then one of my ripped friends, she sent me some floor routines to do. So that was pretty cool of her. But what to do by the next time, work out, do something to keep yourself active. And those are all the things that you can do at the end. Now, here are some resources for you. And so some ripped people on Instagram, good stuff. All right. Here are some resources for you. I put out a podcast a couple times a week. Some are shorter, some are longer. It's going through an evolution right now where I'm going to have some other guests on there. But that's on that's on Spotify, that's on iTunes, it's on Stitcher. But then also, I'm going to send out a resource. It's 10 books, 10 podcasts, and 10 TED Talks that can really help you. I'm going to send that out after this. Also, the mentally resilient athlete, you've got, those are the 20 lessons that I talked about earlier. You get half off for being on the webinar. I'll send out that link. And then I saw a lot of the coach mentorship people on the call. Some of them were the first ones to say hello. So shout out to all of you guys. I love you hanging out with all you guys and girls. It's so much fun. But, and when you're in the coach mentorship, you get access to all the courses and all the curriculum for that monthly fee. So check that out. All right. That's it. 33 minutes, and only 100 of the 450 that signed up were able to see this. I apologize for that, but in 2 weeks when we do this again, I promise that I will have that fixed. So shout out in the comments. I will be here for a bit. So if you have any questions or you have any comments that you want to say, oh, that's fantastic. All right, let's see if I can keep up with all these. Great. Thank you so much, everybody. For those of you who joined on Instagram, thank you so much. And that is it. That is a wrap for our first UTA webinar. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for all the comments. I have somebody, Simon from Thailand. That's amazing. Coach Mark from Rhode Island. Thank you so much. Let's see. Jim, you got it, man. Awesome. Let's see. You're welcome. You're welcome, Vince. Jeff, gotcha. Dave, good to see you, buddy, on Instagram. I see you right there. T-Work, I got you. Good stuff. Let's see. All right. Email me, respond to that email. I'm going to send it out right now. And let's see. Oh, fantastic. Reoccurring dream. Yeah, that's good. Thomas. All right, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Dr. Bell says hi via Joe Keller. Good stuff. Be safe out there. Yep, still got my wristbands. Yeah, it was a lot of fun out there at Newport Beach. My last seminar, my last conference for a couple months. Way of Champions coming up in July. It's not canceled yet. We're still doing it. All right, Jim. Let's see. Love your ideas. The mental training sessions that I run for swimmers include a TED Talk. Awesome. Good stuff, Brian. Yes, I am doing Q&A. So if you want to post up a question in there, I'm going to stick around for another half an hour or so. So please throw some questions in there. Michael, yes, same time in 2 weeks. I'll probably do it a little bit later for my California friends. They requested it to be a little bit. These are definitely appropriate to younger athletes, Meredith. I think that going a shorter session is going to be better. So even if you just gave them an opportunity to just kind of hang out with you for a little bit and talk to you as an adult, you have this great voice in their life that is different than their parents. And so please, if you have younger athletes, even if it's just for 10 minutes, just let them know that you love them. Definitely. All right. Bob says, could I use specific skill or strategy video slides as part of my lessons? Oh, yeah, totally. The only thing I would suggest is that if they can't do anything about it in the next day or so, then I would focus more on something that they can actually do. I had an organization reach out and ask me to do some leadership development. I said, well, you can do leadership development, but if you're not able to actually put to work what it is that you taught, then they'll probably forget it. And so you don't want to just do curriculum to check the box. You want to do curriculum to transform the athletes into better humans. And so as far as the non-contact rules, the whole idea about not contacting them is like if you are a carrier and you have contact with these kids, you may have zero symptoms, but and give it to them, and then they go home and they hang out with grandparents, and then that's how it passes. And so we just have to let this kind of run its course, and it will run its course. And the reason we're doing the separation thing is just because the people who do get sick, we don't want to overrun the hospitals, because I heard Will Smith talk about it yesterday in a really great way. He said, look, typical hospital, maybe let's say they have 40 beds that are available for respiratory problems. As long as less than 40 people show up, they're good to go. But if 80 people show up, then not everybody's going to get helped. So that's kind of why we're doing the separation thing. All right. Can we share the webinar and links? Absolutely. Share the webinar, share the resource, share the links. This is something that I'm doing for free. I'm not charging for this. I'm going to post this on my website so people will be able to see it. Absolutely. Great question. Angie, team bonding ideas. There are some, and I have a course called 52 Team Building Activities, and in there are some, you're welcome, D. Carroll, Google Online Education. I don't, Jim, no, know much about that. But when it comes to team bonding, there's a section in there where you can type in, you can even Google this. It's like hero hardship hurdle. And you have them share something. Anytime you share with your team different ideas about like things they've overcome and things that they want to, their goals, those are team bonding experiences. But then also just meeting with them is a team bonding experience. It's going to help these athletes feel connected in a very disconnected situation that we're in. So Angie, that's probably what, right now, just being there for them. Uh, I'm telling you, it's going to mean the world to them. Would you recommend an actual face-to-face in a week, or with a group 10 less but distancing? Chris, again, that's really up to the area that you're in. I'm staying away from kids and adults just for the next couple of weeks, only just because I want to do my part in making sure. I mean, because if I'm carrying, I could be carrying. I have no idea. I was in California a week ago. I have no symptoms. I feel fantastic. I feel 100%. But the guy in the NBA, the Utah Jazz guy, he said that. He said, I have no symptoms. I'm a carrier. I could be walking down the street and nobody would know that I'm giving it to everybody that I talk to. And so I don't recommend anything different than what our leadership, what our government is saying. We just need to kind of run this course, or let it run its course. Mike says, what suggestions do you have to keep kids emotionally and physically safe in an online environment? That's a great question, Mike. Coaches are experts at connecting with kids in person, but they don't have a lot of training expectation. Okay, Mike. And for those of you that are still on, 58 people are still on. Fantastic. Hi, Emmy. Crinkle toe. I think that it's super important to educate the kids on community, on online communities, on social media. That's very important, because they're looking to you for advice. I'll give you an example, and this is extreme, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but it's something that as a guy, especially when I'm talking to male athletes, I always talk about, is that the idea of sexting. And when you have somebody who's under 18, and the statistics say that someone on your team is sexting, when you kind of change that and say, look, you call it sexting, the law calls it child pornography because they're under 18. It changes the idea of like, oh my gosh, like some of these kids have these photos of their boyfriends or girlfriends on their phone, and it's technically child pornography. And so you have to be careful about the age that you teach that. You don't want to be talking to 10-year-olds about child pornography in an open environment. I mean, it's a slippery slope, but the kids still need to know. And childhoods and scholarships are being taken away because of stupid things like that. But there are some cautionary tales out there for social media. Now, social media is really great, and social media can be really bad, and all social media has predators. And you just want to keep your athletes aware of what to look for. So if somebody's trying to blackmail them, like, they need to talk to somebody right away, an adult that can kind of figure out where this blackmail is coming from. They're really crafty out there, and it's scary. But if they know that they can trust you, then they can come talk to you. And that, I think, is really, really important. All right, let's see. That's it. Any other questions? Thank you so much. So 57 of you are still on. That's over half, even though 450 signed up. I can't believe it. I gotta email them. I gotta make sure they're taken care of. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. 2 weeks from now, we will have another webinar, and I will also post this up on utathlete.com. So I'm signing off. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to serve you as you serve our athletes, as you serve the future adults of the world. So be safe. Wash your hands. KIKE. You got it. Scott, you missed everything. We're done already, but thanks for coming. I appreciate you, and I love you, and it was great having lunch with you a couple weeks ago. All right, let's see. Jeff, you got it. Jim, thank you so much. Emmy, coming back to Fresno soon. Yes, absolutely. Scott, maybe a month or two, we'll grab lunch again. That was a delicious salad. All right, signing off. Take care, everybody. Be safe.